Hello and welcome to the Rundlett Baldacci Report. This is a special show that we've arranged, and the sweater is to commemorate Memorial Day and our veterans. Believe it or not, people who are not Republicans can display the American flag. This show is important because I think that the verdict that's going to take place in this country within a couple of days, or a few days, is probably one of the most important trials in American history. In fact, more important than the OJ case. So I'm going to make a few comments before we introduce our guests. And the first thing I want to tell you is that Rob and I are TV journalists. It used to be the Derry and Rob show, and Rob had his shows. And we would support various candidates. Well, now we're TV journalists, and despite the fact that I'm friends with Janet Mills, and I'm also friends with Cohen and Mitchell and Olympia Snow and Susan Collins, this show is about us being neutral. So what I have to say today, and Rob, is in our position as TV journalists. Our guests, not so much. They have an axe to grind. So what I want to do first is make some predictions about what's going to happen with this verdict. And I'm doing this, and I beg my co-host to please arrange this show today before anybody hears the closing arguments, and before they hear the jury instructions, and before they hear the verdict. And this is what I have to say. The first prediction is that the jury in this case is going to come back with 34 not guilty counts. It may possibly be a mistrial. It may possibly be a mistrial. In Vegas, that bet would also be a bet. But it's not going to be, in my humble opinion, any guilty verdict on any count. Number two, that once this verdict comes in, all the other cases that are now pending, from the insurrection all the way to the jaywalking case in Kansas, will all be dropped. They'll either be dropped, but they will never reach conclusion. The appeal process, whatever, they will never reach a conclusion where there's going to be a conviction. Number three, when that is done and when that verdict is returned to a not guilty verdict, a lot of the people that are on the fence, the independents, whatever, they are going to go for Trump. That's what's going to happen. And Donald Trump will be elected president of this United States, not by a landslide popular vote, but by a large electoral vote. And last but not least, I truly believe that this country has to get united, not just over the economy, not just over what's happening in America, but what's happening in Gaza. This is absolutely horrible, what's going on. It is the worst thing that has happened in this world in the recent years, that innocent people, children, are being killed every day. And now I want to do this for you, if you don't mind. I want to do a very brief argument for the defense in this case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've been listening to this case for a long time. But I'm going to tell you something. There's two very important words you have to listen to. Doubt, and doubt with a reason. Reasonable doubt. That's what this case is about. The case hinges on two witnesses. The first one is Stormy Daniels. Now, this woman has sex with people for a living, which is perfectly okay, perfectly legal. And she's a porn actress. Believe it or not, some of the biggest deceivers in life are actresses. Meryl Streep, Jack Nicholson, they portray other people, and then they become Meryl Streep again. But Stormy Daniels, she does this every day. This is what she does. She deceives. That's her occupation. And what she did was she had an affair with a man that at that time was a television star and a real estate mogul. It was fine. And she promised, yeah, we'll keep this to ourselves. But once she realized that he was running for president of the United States, whoa, I can make some money on this. So she held herself out. Who's going to buy my story? And who bought it? Cohen did. Cohen bought it. According to him, for Trump. But he bought it. He made the highest bid. And right after she did that, she thought, well, I can make some more money. I think I'll go get Avenatti and hire him, and then I'm still going to go public with it. And she did. And then she made a ton of money traveling around the countryside doing strip shows, and her book, and her TV shows. So ladies and gentlemen, what was her motive to do all of this? Well, you've got doubt, I hope. But let me move to the primary witness here, Michael Cohen. He's a lawyer. There are three professions in the United States: a pastor and their parishioner, doctor and patient, lawyer and client. Mr. Cohen violated about 25 ethical rules for lawyers. Because guess what he did? He not only lied for his client, he lied to his client, he lied about his client, for which he was convicted. And lastly, he lied with his client, standing right beside him. But more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, after all those lies, admitted lies, he stole from him. He violated the biggest principle of all time, stealing from your client after already making a ton of money on that client. So ladies and gentlemen, I asked you about reasonable doubt. If you ever go to a canyon where there's an echo and you yell out words, they'll rebound around that canyon. And what you're going to hear is not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, like they're echoing around the canyon. So ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you may be out 15 minutes or 15 days. But the verdict that you must return, is not guilty, because you've got to have a reasonable doubt about these two people. One a convicted felon, and the other, well, an actress. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Ethan, I'm going to start right off with you, buddy.
Well, before you do,
go ahead.
I'm going to jump in.
Go ahead, but I'm sorry to do that.
We're supposed to be nonpartisan
That's
jurors.
Right. Yes.
Journalists?
Yes, nonpartisan.
Yours was pretty.
Well,
pretty
no,
partisan.
I did it on purpose. On purpose. That's not my view.
All right.
I can do the prosecution too.
All right, I'm sure you can, because you're a great lawyer.
Go ahead.
But no, all I was going to say is there's another side to it.
Yes.
Nobody really knows what's going to happen, Derry.
Of course they don't.
Nobody does, and the fact they could focus on Stormy Daniels or Michael Cohen, but the documents, the evidence,
yes,
the financial records are there
huge
to make a case. But anyway,
Rob, I got to say this to you.
Yes, sir.
What I should have said, I didn't want to take too long. That I'm talking now as a TV journalist and as a lawyer. Okay. Speaking as a lawyer, I can do both sides. I can do the prosecution just as easily. What I'm going to say to you is that if I was in Vegas right now it's about a 50-50 chance.
Right.
If I was in Vegas right now, they'd say, Mr. Rundlett, how much money have you got in your pocket? I got $20,000. Want to make a bet? I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to make a bet. What's your bet with all 20? Not guilty. That's all I'm saying.
All right, fair enough. Why don't you introduce our guests?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have two very prominent people in the state. Ethan Strimling is without question, Ethan, you are one of the finest politicians I've ever known. And you are a great spokesperson for the Democratic Party. I have always thought to myself that you would be a fantastic governor. So ladies and gentlemen, Ethan Strimling for the Democrats, and for the Republicans, Trump supporter, David Jones, owner of one of the most established and recognized and reputable businesses in the state of Maine, F.O. Bailey. And he's the business partner of my co-host, Rob Baldacci.
That's right, man.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Ethan, I do want to ask you, you're on the jury. Forget that you're Ethan Strimling. You're on the jury. What's your verdict?
My verdict is guilty, and without a question about it. And and I'm glad that Rob stepped in a little bit there, because you left out 18 witnesses, of course,
yes,
and you left out all the documents that were laid out in front of them, and you left out Hope Hicks, who was as loyal as it gets to Donald Trump, who took the stand and said Michael Cohen's story is accurate. And you left out David Pecker, who said, we're trying to buy the story. His story is accurate. I spoke to him. We have all the checks that were all signed. So, of course, if you want to just give one side of the story, it's easy, and the jury doesn't have
I only had 4 minutes, Ethan.
Fair enough.
If I had an hour, I would have gotten all those people, too. Trust me on that.
Right.
Trust me.
And that's where, I think anybody who steps back, and look, we can talk about the political implications of all this. We don't know what's going to happen. But I think when you step back, even people who think that Trump may be found not guilty, might be a hung jury, or they don't care, you look at it and you say to yourself, he probably had sex with her. He probably tried to buy her silence. He probably tried to hide that buying of her silence, right? Nobody kind of looks at this and says to themselves, none of that happened.
I agree with you.
So in the bottom line, we know he's guilty of what's actually happened, right? He actually did.
Well, you mean criminally guilty?
I'm saying actually guilty of having sex with this, trying to buy that person's silence, and forging the documents to make it appear that it didn't have to show up on a campaign finance report. So once you step back and say, okay, he's guilty, which is what most people probably think, then maybe we can argue the actual case. But whether or not the jury is going to come down that way, none of us know.
What about Clinton and Monica? Clinton and Monica. What about Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe and those people?
What about all of them?
Yeah.
Do you think it was anybody other than Donald Trump that this would even be going on today?
I think it's a great example, right? I mean, Clinton, that's a great example. Republicans were furious about the fact that Bill Clinton actually, had this
Yeah.
committed perjury.
And they should have been.
11
and they were
times,
out.
so-
And now all of a sudden they don't care about it anymore. So you're like, wait
Well-
a minute. You had trials about Bill Clinton. You tried to impeach Bill Clinton over this. And now Donald Trump comes forward, and all of a sudden, this is the case of the Republican Party today. Everything that they used to care about,
They
now
don't
all
care
of a sudden
about.
they don't care about. They're like the level of hypocrisy from where they've been from the 1990s to 2024
Yeah.
is just remarkable. So, yeah, you can put down the whole list. And where are Republicans, right? I don't think Democrats are saying that he shouldn't be in the White House for some moral reason around this relationship.
Right.
It's between him and his wife.
Yeah.
The reason that he should be found guilty in this trial is because he's guilty of fraudulent documents, and the reason he shouldn't be president is because the guy's a fascist who wants to be a dictator.
Thank you.
With that, I'll turn it over to my
So
good
now,
friend.
now he's a fascist and he wants to be a dictator.
Said he wants to be a dictator, so that's it.
I've never said he wants to be a
I'd like to point out,
Right.
before David talks, David is also a partner with me. Ethan is a friend of mine. David is a national delegate for Donald Trump at the convention. He's also on the platform committee.
Correct.
So he's got the creds to be here to talk about Trump.
And I've been involved with the Trump campaign,
Since the
2016.
beginning, yeah.
I created Making Maine Great Again. You may have heard of that. It was me and Linda Bean put that together. And, we did a really good job. Now, you look at all the polls today and you say, well, Trump's got this thing, it's a slam dunk. But do you think it was anybody other than Donald J. Trump that they would be going after this man like they are? What is it that Democrats are so afraid of?
I think
I mean,
you're right.
to me, it just doesn't make any sense. And you got to ask yourself this question: If he did have an affair with Stormy Daniels, and if he was out in public, with that he had that affair, do you think people would have voted for him in 2016?
Well,
Do you think
Possibly.
no? Would you have not have voted for him for that reason alone?
It would have concerned me that he tried to cover it up. And
No, I'm saying
No,
if he did
no,
cover it up.
what about just the sex?
Yeah.
Huh?
What about just the sex?
I'm not saying covering up. He says, yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Fine.
I had
Would
sex
you
with
have not
Don-
voted for him in 2016?
I don't know. It would have given me some pause.
It would have given
about
you
what
pause.
What kind of
Okay.
man he
Would you have
really
not? Well,
was.
I know you wouldn't vote for him. If he,
well, clearly Donald Trump was worried about people not voting for
well,
him.
I'm not.
That's
If you,
right.
listen,
Because
if you
he
listen to
stopped
Hope
it from
Hicks,
getting it out.
if you listen to Hope Hicks, she said the reason he wanted to cover up because he didn't want to hurt his wife. All right, he had consideration for his wife's feelings, and whether it's true or not. If it's not true, I would be even more inclined to not, to do what he had done. All right, if he did in fact do it, but it turns out that may not have even done what they're accusing him of. And if it's campaign finance law, who's in charge of that? Is it a?
Yeah.
Who's supposed to take care of that?
And-
you're a lawyer.
Yeah,
I mean, tell
and
me.
the other thing is I want to tell you, there are certain things in life that are both a crime and a moral crime. For example, I think not stopping at a stop sign
Yeah.
is a moral crime because you could hit somebody.
Yeah.
But I don't think not paying your taxes or fudging your taxes, I don't think it's a moral crime. It's a illegal crime to park in a handicap spot without a handicap sticker. But if you've got two broken legs and you didn't have time to get a handicap sticker and you park there, I don't think you're guilty of violating that rule.
What are you arguing? Are you,
Yeah.
are
I'm
you
arguing-
actually arguing that Donald Trump, having committed fraud in his business to try to cover up payments that he would make?
Supposedly.
Let's just say supposedly.
Because you're
he just
talking
used
as if
he
it's-
just used examples of real things that said that.
Yeah.
Are you saying that those are not crimes?
Yes. I'm saying that if
course
you,
they're crimes.
well, they were made crimes by the legislature, but I'm saying to you, sir,
Then they're
that every single president of the United States, including Lincoln, I don't care who you read about their biographies, they did stuff to cover up that was not legal. Do you know how many illegal things have you ever read about
What
Lincoln?
about the Kennedys?
Yeah, the
Okay,
Kennedys.
but what-
I mean,
you
just
can-
talk about the Kennedys. Do you
David,
think?
we're talking about Donald Trump.
Right, but you're
But-
making
but-
comparisons.
Right, it's the
historical
example. It's the
comparisons
example.
to
Every
these people.
time you talk about Donald Trump, people just want to try to pretend all of a sudden. I mean, you asked the question, do you think they'd be doing it to anybody if it wasn't Donald Trump? No, they wouldn't, because no other person has 91 indictments against them from 4 different courts, 3 different prosecutors, 3 different grand juries, right? This is not one.
Because
big thing.
nobody else is
Ethan,
Donald J.
Ethan.
Trump.
Nobody else out there who's
Ethan,
commit 91 felonies. That they're gonna be-
Supposedly, all right. And if you go about committing felonies, Joseph Biden had in his hand documents
Yes.
in his garage, laying there
Yeah.
on the counter in a box that one he never had the right to even have. Trump had the right to have those documents.
Oh, I-
all right?
Yeah.
He had the right to have the
Right.
documents. The only mistake he's made is he did not declassify them. But as he was in negotiations to give
He
those documents
obstructed
back,
justice,
Yeah.
He
David.
obstructed
the
justice.
guy wasn't even home.
Guys.
Home for a year.
He's
He
had him
the
in his
documents
bathroom, his bedroom, but anyway, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well,
Terry.
this is what I want to
This is
say.
the kind of thing where we sort of spend our time. I mean, let's have an honest conversation about Donald Trump. I'm happy to have a conversation about Joe Biden too, about whether he'd be
Well, you
a good
have to. I
president.
mean, 'cause-
right. But you're having these conversations around Joe Biden, whether you like it or not, has not been indicted 91 times.
That's true.
And that is a very
No, because
How
they
did you get
found
that
out
word
that he
in?
was a feeble old man, not capable
no,
of
because he
withstanding
didn't
questioning.
obstruct justice.
Can I just chime in here for a
Yeah,
second?
go ahead. It's Derry.
Yeah, this is, please.
Go ahead, sorry.
You guys jumped ahead to an issue that I intend to go to all 4 indictments.
Okay.
Okay, all 4 cases.
All right.
And you jumped ahead on the records. But let me tell you this, Ethan. This is my opinion. That if I was advising Joe Biden, and they came back with, he didn't mean it, he's a little man, whatever, but no charges against Joe Biden for doing essentially the same thing.
That
Okay?
Trump did.
Now, the motives and all
I
that.
cannot let that go with a straight face.
Oh,
Thank
well, I'm going to do it with a straight face, Ethan, because what I'm going to say to you is this. What Biden should have done is to say, I'm going to have him drop that case. If they're going to drop it against me, they should drop it against him. It's, in my opinion, as a lawyer,
true.
to go after,
Right.
well, his is different. He did this, he covered it up, he put him in his basement instead of his garage.
Terry, you know that'd be illegal. You know it would be illegal for the president to go to the Justice Department and tell them to drop charges against a political rival because I don't
What if
want
he
the
said,
way
I'm
they
going to
look."
pardon him?
He's welcome to say I'm going to
Yeah.
pardon
That's
him.
what he
hasn't
should
been-
do.
He hasn't been found guilty of anything at the moment, so he's welcome to do that, but it would be illegal for him to do what you just suggested.
Well,
and the Department of Justice was very
Ethan,
clear. The
Ethan,
Republican
I didn't say he picks up the phone and calls and goes public with it. He just says, do me a favor, will you? Back off this thing. So, yeah, he can do that. He doesn't
No,
make the...
he can't.
Well, Ethan...
That's what Richard Nixon got knocked out of office because
Okay.
he tried to use 2 departments
well,
against
anyway,
each other.
I'm just saying...
For his own political means.
Okay. Ethan, I love talking to you because you are so... I mean, I don't want to put
He's
it...
got his facts. He
You
knows
got your
what
facts.
He's talking about.
And
Well, his facts according to Ethan.
Well,
that's
and
true.
according to
Nothing
the
I've
left.
said
And your facts...
It's not the facts
and
according
David,
to the
your
law.
facts,
all right?
your facts
These-
according to you.
All right.
So, I want us to move on.
Yeah.
I want us to move on to a topic.
But I got to say one thing. 'cause,
Go ahead.
You know, there's these facts, and then there's my facts, right? And it's just so weird. And we talk about unifying, and you're right. We need to unify and stop fighting over stupid stuff. We got to stop interfering with elections like we're doing right now. This is election interference. I don't care how you paint it, what color you paint it. He's going to be found not guilty. And so you talk about unity. The only way you're going to get unity is stop
What if he's
with the
found
clown
guilty?
acts.
What if he's found
He'll-
guilty?
It'll be lost on appeal.
But what if he's found guilty? At what point do you say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna at some level or
A
another-
jury of his peers.
All right,
Find
see-
one in New York.
See, this
right?
is what we're up against, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you get the verdict you want, which is the same as Donald Trump in terms of the election, unless he gets the election result he wants, he's going to call it rigged, right? I'll
Oh,
bet
yeah.
you still think 2020 was rigged, even though there's no
I've
evidence
never.
of the fact.
Hey, listen. I've
Okay,
said
so do
on
you
this
think
show.
2020
Yeah.
was legit? Was 2020 legit?
I said that Joseph Biden won the election. He is legally the
Boy,
president
that
of
was
the United
awfully
States. of
hard
America.
for you to
Yeah, it was.
get that out of you.
Well,
well,
I hope.
I
I
want to
appreciate
choke on it.
that. I
David,
know.
And I hope you're one of the few Republicans who will stand up and say,
Yeah.
in 2024, if Donald Trump loses, I am going to stand up and say the same thing again, and not
he's
what
not
you
gonna
just
lose.
said. Which is,
but David also
If
said
he
this.
does.
David also said this. When David was on our show with Ken Alshuler, how to get a win in edgewise. Ken's my partner, friend of Rob's. We were not upset by that. And David, my niece was so upset with Ken. And I said, excuse me, he's Ken. That's Ken.
Yeah, that's fine.
And you held your cool. And this is what you said. I asked you specifically, what about the election? He goes, well, we think there's some problems, but it's not something we can prove in a court of law.
That's right.
And guess what?
recounts.
A man by the name of Gianni Russo, whom Rob and I respect greatly, has done a little video about, oh, actually, they did. They bought a whole bunch of votes in Chicago. Oh, yeah, this guy, whatever his name is.
Kennedy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he bought. And so that is what you would have said. You would have said, where's the evidence, David? You would have gone, it's going to come out. So whether that happened or not, I don't know.
Right.
We don't have any independent proof of whether or not somebody bought 30,000 votes or whatever.
no, we do. We have lots of evidence that didn't happen.
Correct.
We do?
Yes. It has been to courts. It has been counted. They've looked
No,
at the ballots.
I mean about the guy buying the votes.
I don't
guy
care.
buying the
Anybody,
votes?
you can't just make an accusation with no evidence and then say to yourself,
I think
"We
Gianni
don't-"
Russo had the evidence, didn't he? He said the guy, the name of the guy.
You're
If
talking about the Jack Kennedy 1960.
No, I'm talking about
This one?
I'm talking about Biden.
Come on,
Oh, I
you
don't.
cannot.
You haven't seen that video?
No, I haven't.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It's Gianni Russo saying, "I'll tell you, yeah, you gotta watch it." My niece sent it to me, and I'm telling you right now, it's what you said. It's nothing they could have proven in a court of law. And Ethan, it hasn't come out yet. to
So
my
why
knowledge.
do you repeat it? I mean, this is the problem. Like, if we just
Because I'm a
create-
TV journalist, I can repeat whatever I want to.
I understand, but you're a TV journalist, so at some level you fact check things before you actually.
I didn't say
put them out on the
I didn't say Gianni Russo was correct. I'm just saying that's
Well,
his
that's what we were just
explanation.
talking about. We're just talking about whether or not it's a possibility, right? Joe Biden won the election in 2020. There's
I
no
agree.
question about it. Trump lost. The
I agree.
question right now is, in 2024, when Trump loses, by whatever he loses by, if he loses, will he accept those results? And currently, the Republican Party, the leadership of the Republican Party, is unwilling to say, we will accept the results. We know what happened the first time when he lost. He tried to stop Congress from certifying the ballot.
I agree.
Right? That was the first time in our history the peaceful transfer of power has tried to be blocked.
I agree.
And we can
Was
maybe
it
we'll
the
get
first
to that.
time?
Well, no, I don't agree.
Well,
I
maybe
have
in
a-
1860, you're right, and we had a civil war. over
Right,
that, so
right,
you're kind of right about
yeah.
that
so,
piece.
So
but
it's
we'll give
not
it to
the
that.
first time that a president who lost got up and said, "Hey, I don't think I really lost." Whatever. No, it's not the first
It's the
time.
first time somebody's
but it's the
attacked
first
the Capitol.
I
In
can give
modern-
my
in
opinion
modern
on
history.
this too, all right?
Yes.
Because I'll say this: like Trump probably was privy to a lot of information that even today we probably have never seen, and it'll never see the light of day. All right, so he's probably being told by people within his organization, "Whoa, put the brakes." Because I know I went to the studio, Ray Richardson's studio that morning. All right, and I put on Facebook, "We are the champions, we won." All right, and then by 9:30, Ray and I are looking at it like, "Holy cow, we lost!" All right.
So you already went out. We had
Yeah, right. I mean, so I went from euphoria to like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Right. So you really got to think about this because we all of a sudden Arizona rolled in, Pennsylvania for whatever reason was stalled. All these really weird things that never happened before, where they put paper up on windows and did all this stuff that just
what
to
is
keep.
this conspiracy
No, the point
theory
is
stuff?
that these are instances that happened that never
they aren't.
happened before.
No, they
David,
aren't.
they-
Well, David,
yes.
they didn't
They
put
happened.
paper on. They didn't hide.
You can't deny a fact.
I can deny something that's not a fact because that's not true. They counted ballots the same way they count ballots
Why'd they stop?
in 2016 when he won.
We used to have election results.
Are you going to tell me that in 2016
Look,
somehow
I'm
or
not going.
another-
I don't want to stay off of 2020 because it's
don't
I've
know.
conceded to the fact
is
that
the-
there's
this
things
is
we'll
the-
never know.
But yet you're bringing up issues that
Well,
are
I mean, I hear
conspiracy-laden.
these arguments being made that we are just to blindly trust everything that goes
No,
on.
we should look
and
at
that
the
Donald
facts.
Trump,
That's why we
was,
have
and he
recount.
wanted to stop the count. So I thought those are probably relevant facts that influenced him to feel like he felt, because I think he felt like he won when during the night. I think he thought he won. So
Yeah,
all of a sudden,
for
just like
sure.
I did, I thought he won. All right, but he didn't.
Right.
Trump
He
won
thought
that.
he won because only
So
20%
did
of the
Gore.
ballots
So
were-
did Gore think he won?
Yeah, but Gore handled it with class.
Right, exactly.
and dignity.
Gore went to court, lost in court,
Right.
and said, "I'm done."
Class
Yeah.
and dignity.
And
That went
this-
on for how long?
It went
With
up to the
hanging
middle of
chad.
December.
Yeah.
December
He
15th is when the
exercised
Supreme
every
Court
right,
ruled. And then he walked
every
away.
legal right he had
Unlike
to.
Donald
Yeah.
Trump, who incited an insurrection to attack
Yeah,
the
it
Capitol.
was
So
terrible.
Well, no, so please.
We're gonna- no,
That's
another trial. We can get to that trial
That's
in
a
a moment.
really coming from you.
Yeah, no,
I'm really surprised you would even say that because
Yeah,
that's, right.
I'll say it- I'll
He's
say it
an
again.
incite of
Please, please.
an insurrection.
He's-
all right.
We're going to do that one later.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to do that one.
because that's. I mean, you can't get
Okay,
away with this.
let Derry set the stage.
Yeah,
Next
yeah.
item.
We're going to do it methodically, though.
Yeah.
We're not going to just jump over here. Right now,
Go ahead, Derek.
Right now, Ethan has convinced me that if he was on the jury, I don't care what's being said. My argument was only 5 minutes. The closing argument is going to be long in this case,
yeah.
Ethan. The lawyer will go
That starts
with
tomorrow,
each
right?
witness.
Today.
He'll go
They're
with
already
each,
going. They're going
he'll go
while
with
we're
each
recording.
witness.
Yeah.
The lawyer, he won't just do the Stormy Daniels and Cohen like I did. David, I already know what your verdict is, and Rob, I know what your verdict is.
What is my verdict?
Your verdict's guilty.
No.
It isn't?
No, I think a mistrial. I think.
Oh,
it's gonna be
okay, then no, excuse me. Mistrial, okay, thank you.
Although I think he's guilty.
Yeah, okay, thank you. But what you're predicting is the same as me, because in Vegas, they're going to say, Mr. Rundlett, you can bet either a mistrial or not guilty, the same vote. But it's either guilty or not. We don't care, we're not doing mistrials.
He should be convicted, but I don't.
You think he should be convicted?
I do.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. David, what I want to ask you is, you are on the platform committee.
Yes.
The platform committee. How many people are on that committee?
100 total from the entire country.
100 total.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you point blank, David, you personally, not the other 99, do you agree that some of the issues that your party has brought up, transgenders, gays, drag shows, whatever, that they are totally irrelevant to what's going on in this world now? Is that going to be part of that platform?
I have no idea what's going to be part
Do
of
you
the
think
platform
it should
till I
be?
get there.
Those
right?
those
We
very
haven't had a
small
chance to
issues.
review anything.
Those very small issues.
Well, you know what they are. You know what they are to me,
What?
right? Because it doesn't matter to me any of that. You know, honestly,
It does to me because my daughter's
well, that's
transgender.
fine, but they're wedge issues that they throw out there, and every 2 or 4 years we take the bait like the dumb fish in the water.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
And we say, okay, look, let's throw out abortion. Let's throw out gay rights. Let's throw out transgender, DEI. All
Yes.
this, and we're like, oh yeah, okay, please, let's just fall in love. Let's do this, okay? And then we start hating each other.
Yeah.
So you get back to the unity thing. Right? Are we going to let these stupid issues that we don't really, and I'm not saying that they're relevant to people, but are they issues that we know are bait? Are we going to take the bait, and are we going to remain a divided country, or are we going to work together to get the 7 out of 10 things that we all agree on done?
7 out of 10. I'll tell you.
Right.
I'll tell you. Do you agree with me, as on this platform committee? Do you agree with me that what's happening in this world is the most important issue right now? Both that and Ukraine, the innocent people that are being killed. Can you agree with me that that's an issue that the President of the United States should be dealing with?
I agree that what's going on in our world and the unstableness throughout the world is a really big, big issue.
And
But right now, people have to choose here in the state of Maine and throughout our country whether they heat or whether they eat, all right? Whether they go to work or they don't go to work because they can't afford it.
Right.
We keep increasing people's wages. It's not commensurate with the value, the cost of goods and services.
So this is an important
that we
issue
buy.
for the economy. It's important for you.
The economy is the number one issue.
It's
Because without an economy,
over
we have
Gaza?
nothing.
I would agree with that.
Number one over Gaza?
Economy? In terms of
economy,
way
number
people
one.
vote?
In terms of voters?
Oh, no, in terms of
Number one.
In terms of
Economy.
the world. In terms of the world.
Economy. Without the economy, what are we?
Okay, so, but the president's a world leader. So is it your opinion that Trump can do a better job with this Gaza issue than Biden?
Absolutely.
Why?
If Trump was president of the United States, I don't think half of these things would be going on. You know,
You don't think Gaza would have happened?
He believes in peace through strength. Gaza, you know, Ukraine, I don't think that would have happened at all. I think Putin and him would have worked it out.
And,
I think
We
that-
both went like this.
Right.
Yeah.
So why would Trump be able to talk to Putin and maybe stop this innocent killing of people in
People
Ukraine?
see him as a leader instead of what we have today. Right?
Oh, boy.
Right?
I'd like Ethan to respond.
Yes,
Well, I mean, it's true.
It's hard
What
for
do we
me to
have?
sit here and listen to.
You know, I know that's why I
Ethan,
should go.
it really is.
Yeah,
Ethan, go ahead,
look,
please.
you know, in coming, I'm happy to address, in terms of foreign policy, obviously Ukraine, obviously Gaza, those are the issues that the president has to deal with. I think David's exactly right. When we get down to the fundamentals of why people are going to vote, they're going to get down to the economy. They're going to get down to issues around healthcare. They're going to get down to issues around schools. And a very big issue that you were talking about before
national issues, not
is
world.
around abortion, right? Abortion is one of the greatest shifts in our country's policymaking because of Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump has appointed 3 justices to the Supreme Court that have now overturned a fundamental right for women in terms
Which
of their own
wasn't
health
done
care.
properly, and he turned it back to the states.
Whatever you can argue it for however you want. What we know is that the women in this country are now standing up and saying, you are not taking away my basic health care right to make decisions for myself, which are allowing me and my family to thrive the way we want to thrive, to grow the way we want to grow. And so that is a very important, when you were talking about gay rights, LGBTQ, trans rights, all of these, DEI, abortion is going to be, that one will be at the ballot box. And I think is actually one of the most fundamental reasons why, in the end, Donald Trump will lose. Because that issue, it was great for Republicans as long as it was always 5-4.
Right.
As long as As
Right.
long as Roe v. Wade didn't get overturned, but we could just keep cutting away at the right, but not fundamentally. Once you took it away, we've won every single contested election where abortion was on the ballot, and it's going to be again.
Ethan, that was so well said, because that issue cuts right to the. I have a cousin that passed away, and I have a cousin that's a huge Trump fan. She was she didn't storm the Capitol, but she was there. Abortion is her number one issue. So is my deceased cousin.
A lot of women are just
And they do absolutely against it. So when I asked them, I said, "Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?" And they go, "Yes, I am." I go, "Well, Dad, why?" Abortion. So I can't blame him for packing the Supreme Court, whatever. And by the way, Gorsuch, who was appointed, by amazing coincidence, was also the one that wrote that wonderful opinion on pro-gay rights. There was a huge dissent on the part of Kavanaugh, which upset Susan Collins. We all know that. Susan said he faked me out of me, when he said that, "Oh yeah, gay rights, I'm there." But Gorsuch, with the help of David Roberts, writes a wonderful opinion. Says the Civil Rights Bill, oh yeah. And I said to my friends, a constitutional law, the first session should be, isn't it amazing that Trump appoints Gorsuch and he comes out with pro-gay rights, pro-transgender rights? But you're right, the abortion issue is huge. Rob, your turn.
Well, we talked about the trial this week and the verdict. Obviously, there's a difference of opinion here. The other 91 indictments that have been filed against
That's a lot.
I think Judge Cannon in the Southern District of Florida is doing everything she can to forestall or hold off any kind of action on the documents case.
Agreed.
Now, I believe the prosecutor, Special Prosecutor Jack Smith, is asked for an appeal on some decisions that are affecting that court. How do you feel about the way this judge has handled that important case? Because that was and everybody's opinion is that's a clear-cut case of mishandling documents, obstructing justice. I respect what you're saying about Biden, but as soon as Biden found out he had these documents, he said, "Take them." He didn't hide the documents. He didn't try to obstruct
They
any.
didn't show up at his house in SWAT.
Well, they
didn't have to.
said, "Hey,
with a shoot to kill order.
Come on, but David,
that's standard practice, David." But anyway,
But
Ethan,
David, this is what's frustrating, right? Instead of looking at Donald Trump in the eyes and saying, "What is your problem? Why did you take classified documents out of the White House? And why didn't you turn them over?" Immediately, you look at it and you try to create this obfuscation. It's like, should Biden have had those documents? No. He didn't get them illegally. That's factually inaccurate. But no.
Well, how do you say that? He has no right
to
to take those documents ever.
Well,
that's illegal in my book.
He had the right to have the documents when he was an elected official, when he was vice president.
He didn't.
Yes, he did.
You know how they handle documents, Ethan, right? They go into the vault, they take them out, they bring them in a suitcase, they look at them, they're allowed to look at them, they're allowed to read them, all right, and then it has to go tag with the guy.
Trump have them?
You tell me. They're not
Well, okay.
they're not enforcing protocol. Bottom line.
Okay, who's ever not enforcing?
These documents are
I'm
all
willing
over
to
the
say to
place.
you, of course Biden shouldn't have taken them out of the White House.
Don't say he had them legally, because he didn't. Right?
Pence had documents
because
as
you were
well.
trying to claim that he was never allowed to see them. That's what I thought you were saying.
No,
Maybe you're not.
You're
Okay.
allowed to see them. Yeah.
But as soon as he was told that he had them, he turned them over. So
Right.
why aren't you standing up to Donald Trump and your own party and saying, you know what? If Donald Trump had turned those documents over on the day he was asked for them, he would not be prosecuted with one indictment.
Exactly.
But he didn't, and therefore, national security is at stake because he's got these documents
National
in his
security. What do we have here?
Ethan, do you agree with
You won't even do that. You won't even look Trump in the eye and say, you should have turned him over.
Look, if I had Donald J. Trump sitting around, I'd ask,
Look,
why the hell didn't
he's
you turn him
watching
over?
right now. Go ahead, look at the camera right
Why
there.
didn't you turn him over?
No. Here's a better way to say it. You should have turned him over. That's why you're in trouble.
Right. Well,
Because,
well,
look, in terms of getting back
you
to
don't
the
know.
judge.
I mean,
Ethan.
you don't know why he had them. You don't know what his motivations were. You just don't know.
Well,
unless you
we can surmise.
all Democrats are mind readers, then then we can
David,
sit there and figure it out.
What could your motivation be to keep classified top secret documents in your bathroom that the government is telling you to bring back?
Ethan, David, do you think that Trump wears a bunch of advisors. Do you agree with me, Ethan, and you, David, that there would have been at least 2 or 3 advisors, maybe one, maybe just one advisor, maybe it would have been me, that might have said, excuse me, Mr. Trump, on this one here, you want to say, come take the documents. Yeah. You do not want to take, and others would say no. And so, for example,
conjecture.
No, it's not conjecture. There was, right?
Yeah, right.
Wait a minute, there was, right?
Right. When a politician,
you're not creating a hypothetical. There was somebody who told him you need to turn them over, and he said, "Oh, I already did." His lawyers who signed the document.
Because I'm a lawyer.
All over.
I'm a lawyer, David. And I'm a lawyer that has advised politicians a lot.
Yeah.
And I would have said, excuse me, my position is you're going to be a lot better if you just say, come get the documents. But guess what? Lawyers would also say to a politician, by the way, the case in New York about the girl in the restroom, I might have said to him, just admit it was consensual. They didn't force her or anything. Because a lawyer could advise, I think you should just admit it. And or how about Stormy Daniels? Stormy Daniels. Right? I might have said, Amen. Mr. Trump, just admit you had sex. You were a real estate. Just say you had sex with this porn star and move on. Yeah. But the others said, no, don't do it. So
well,
David,
suppose he didn't. Or is anybody in this room thoroughly convinced 100% that he actually did?
I'm thoroughly convinced.
I think he did.
You think he did?
Listen.
Well, I think her testimony is pretty explicit, Dave.
I'm very
explicit.
I'm very convinced because I wasn't there. Yeah. I wasn't in Lake Tahoe. But I got to tell you something. What red-blooded man that was known as a guy who likes women and has said it, what man would have possibly said, you know, Stormy Daniels, I have no interest. So the evidence to me, by preponderance...
Well, he was married.
We're not doing...
Married to a very beautiful woman.
Right. But we're doing...
More beautiful than Stormy Daniels.
We're doing whether or not a moral crime committed and whether or not it happened. And I don't know whether he did or he didn't. But it doesn't bother me if he did or he didn't.
Well, he did just like your guy said he would do. I did not have sex with that woman.
That's what.
Have we heard that before?
Excuse me. Were you engaging with
what did we learn?
Were genitals involved at all? Yes, but it wasn't sex.
I don't even know why. It's uncomfortable to even go down this road. It's not about being a red-blooded man. This case is about fraudulent business documents.
Thank you, Ethan.
That's it.
Yeah.
Stop with all the other salacious stuff. None of that matters.
Whether he did or
business
didn't.
documents in order to silence somebody who is going to impact his campaign.
That's right.
Now, I would say there is perhaps a legitimate defense that says, no, I could have said I was trying to silence her because I didn't want my wife to know about it, right? But you're still trying to silence somebody. Right. Right. Of course, Trump didn't. And, one of the things that's the most telling to me in this case, and maybe you can shed some light on it, right? There was another person in the room with Michael Cohen when this was done, right? His finance guy was in the room, and the defense never brought him forward. Now he's in jail because he's already been lying on behalf of Donald Trump over and over and over again. But isn't it interesting that they never brought a third person who could have verified that Donald Trump's story was accurate?
Smart move.
They never put him on the trial.
Smart move.
Of course it's a smart move because the other guy would have to commit perjury again and go to jail for longer.
That's right. And we all know, I was a criminal defense attorney. I could be a criminal defense attorney. And we all know that the ethics are that you cannot put a witness on the stand, if you're a lawyer, including your own client, if you know they are going to commit perjury. You cannot do it.
So what does that tell you?
It tells me that
he's guilty.
It tells me that if I've got a witness in a case that is possibly going to hurt me, I'm going to say, I don't want that witness. I want this witness to be in Mexico when they
Which just gets us back to the original question of did he do it or didn't he do it? And I don't know where you haven't answered the question about putting aside everything else. Did he commit fraud with these documents, whether he's found guilty or not? I think we all, when we look at the evidence.
You mean taking the documents out of the White House?
No, sorry, on the Stormy Daniels, on the hush money trial. Did he commit fraud? Of course he did. Now, whether or not this rises to the level of what we want to rise it to, okay, that's
I don't understand why it's in a civil court, though. Why isn't the feds?
It's a criminal court,
because
not a civil court.
Why aren't the feds pursuing this? Why didn't the DOJ?
It's not a federal Because they've got
Whoa,
three or four.
it is federal, okay? Because
No. This is a state law that he's violated. You could also go after him if what you're trying to insinuate is what they should have done is a campaign finance violation.
Right.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
could have.
Agreed.
That was if they wanted to go there, but this was you broke
So if
the
it
law in New
wasn't,
York.
so if it was a campaign, if
could do that
he
too.
did what they're accusing him of,
Right.
then it would be campaign finance, a violation of campaign
It could be
finance
as well.
law. And it was reviewed by the feds and passed by the feds.
No, we don't-
I don't
We're
know
not
about
doing
that,
it.
We don't know
Of course they did.
No.
You don't think they looked at this?
We don't know. There's nothing, what the feds did was they were looking at, I don't think there's ever been a federal official looking at the hush money portion of this, right? They've looked at the insurrection.
Right.
They've
not what
looked
I
at
heard.
the
Okay.
issue of the
Documents.
classified documents.
yeah.
And there's a state court, of course, in Georgia. That's looking at what.
I want to do that one.
Do it now. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Let's do the. So we've gone through the records. You say guilty on the records. Whatever. I want to go to the Georgia case. What about the Georgia case? Start off with you, David.
Well, one thing, so we have one guilty and three not guilty. Am I getting it right?
No, you don't have
Mistrial?
No, he's got mistrial.
I said
so
possibly
not
mistrial,
guilty.
I got not
although I
guilty.
think he's guilty.
And
I got mistrial or not guilty, but I'm going with not guilty.
I say not guilty.
Okay. Now let's go.
No
winning.
numbers. See, you thought you were coming on a show where it was going to be the rest of them against you.
Oh, it's so usually
It's the other way
is. Though
around.
I get this all the time. Okay?
Well,
We have fun with
now
it.
I want to
Yeah.
go to the Georgia stuff. David, what's your position on the Georgia stuff? They made the call and said, get me 12,000 votes. What do you say about that?
Well, 11,000 votes, but find me 11,000
sorry.
votes. Well, I think he was probably just asking to do a recount that would actually.
They had recounts.
In other words,
You know,
totally innocent.
I don't think he was saying fabricate 11,000
Right.
votes for me.
You don't think he was saying that? What do you say? Ethan, what do you say?
Absolutely not. And you can honestly think he would be that dumb to
Yes.
call and say,
Yes.
fabricate 11,000 votes.
I do.
Oh, come on.
Yes. David.
So this guy becomes
Look-
a multi-billionaire, has a life
Thanks to his
of
father.
grandeur. No, that's such a crime.
ahead.
His father was only worth $40 million, right? So,
How about that?
And so
It's only $40 million.
40 million compared to where Trump is
Today, yes, right, but it's
he's
compounding.
parlayed.
Let's stick to the issue.
Right.
Go ahead,
So you
Georgia.
think this man, who was smart enough to engineer a lifestyle unparalleled by most any normal human being
That's
on
true.
the planet, would be that dumb to pick up and say, fabricate me 11? No, he just said, look, something's
Give me
wrong.
the
here.
votes.
All right?
Find 'em.
Something's wrong here. Find him.
Dave, they had recounts. They had recounts in Georgia.
When did he make the call? After the recounts?
Huh?
Yeah, they're
Before
still
the
going
recount.
on. I mean,
Yeah.
look, David, again, it's remarkable to me. Who cares whether he's dumb or smart? If any politician calls the Secretary
Right.
of State and says, will you please go and find me votes, whether it means fabricating or whether it means recounting until you get them, that is so inappropriate. Like when I'm mayor of Portland and I lost my reelection, if I had tried to call the clerk and say to her, I want you to count again and try to find me the votes I need so that I no longer come in, would you ever say that was ethical, moral,
No.
or legal?
Yeah, Ethan.
Of course.
I got,
You know what the
I got an
boundaries are
answer for
between
you.
an elected
That's-
official and
Ethan, I have an answer for you.
Yeah.
I know when you lost the election.
Yes.
Because I supported you.
Thank you.
We
Yes,
all
I
do.
know. Yeah.
And so what I wanted to ask you is, that call on your part, if you knew in your heart you didn't win, but what if someone said, you know, Ethan, forgive me, but I was there. And I got to tell you, I didn't like some of the stuff that was going on. And you go, what? Well, I don't get to go public on it, Ethan, but I've known you for many years, and I was a clerk there. I was a voting counter, and I saw some problems. Would you have made the call then?
No. You know what I would have done?
What?
I would have said to that individual, thank you, and we need to go to court. I'm going to go in front of a neutral party. I'm going to go to a judge, and I would like you to testify. Will you testify
But you
on
wouldn't,
oath
you wouldn't have made the call.
to the clerk?
Yeah.
No,
Totally
the clerk is the
inappropriate.
person who runs the elections.
a law
the Secretary of
that
State.
says-
Yeah, is there-
Of course you
Ethics.
cannot.
Ethics.
Of course you cannot. Are you kidding? To call the person who's in charge, you already have to stay so far beyond what it is when the person who is running the election as an elected official, you recuse yourself from public
Ethan,
votes that might impact you.
Ethan, let's
Yeah.
say that it was me running in that mayor election with you.
Right.
And I lost the election. And I thought to myself, as an attorney, gee, Scott, I don't like hearing that. I think I'm just going to call the clerk and ask her, you know, did you see it? And you're saying that if I had made that call to the clerk and said, excuse me, was there an hour or time? You're saying I could not make that call legally?
What's the call that you're making?
I'm gonna
Because
make
that's a very different, maybe is a different call than saying, find me 11,000
Yeah.
votes, right? That's a little
How
different.
do we know he said that?
Because it's
It's
on
on
tape.
tape.
Okay. And he said,
Find me 11,000
Find me
votes,
11,000 plus votes.
Whatever it is, right?
Enough
It's on
to
tape.
win.
If you want to, what I would suggest, let's say I'm your attorney or I'm your political advisor,
Yeah.
I would say to you, email the clerk and say, we've heard that there are some problems in this. We would like to ask for a recount.
And you think,
Exactly.
And if you ask for a recount is
It's all
public.
hindsight.
You have the right to
You know,
do it, and that's all fine. But this is where you're forgiving Donald Trump for making a phone call that's on tape that is beyond the pale of ethics.
And that's not the only state he did that
That's
with.
fine. People.
Yeah, oh, yeah, he did it in more than one state.
I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
hey,
look,
Rob.
No, you didn't.
here's what
But a
I'll
grand
say.
jury agrees with me because they
you get
indicted
a guy
him.
like
That's
Donald
right.
Trump,
Okay.
who is an executive. He's owned companies, and if he didn't like somebody, he could fire him. And this is where I think the fault was with Donald Trump. And he was an executive, and if he didn't like somebody, he could fire him.
Right.
Right.
Even though he
Now
said
he's
something
in
nice.
government.
Even though he
He's
said
in
something nice about him the day before. Go ahead.
Now he's in
Exactly.
government, and he's got these people that he probably should have fired from day one. He should have cleaned house like Obama did, but he didn't. He thought he could work with everybody. And that was his mistake. He thought he could work through popularity and his ability to bring people together to, make
Who
a
did he
company.
not fire?
He didn't fire half the people. He ought to clean the whole house like anybody
Well,
else.
he
should.
almost did.
He had, wait a minute, everybody who was every appointee that he could appoint was fired and
he's
replaced.
Well,
Exactly.
his appointments,
As they
right?
always are.
But the other people, the staffing and everything else. So
Who did he keep?
The bottom line.
He kept somebody from the Obama
is
administration
he's
because I'm
used
still
to-
waiting.
No, I
he's
don't
used
think
to
so.
He's used to hiring and firing.
Yes.
When you're in government, it's not quite the same.
That's right.
All right. So here he is in an environment that he is not comfortable with, and he figured, well, screw it. I don't trust this
Yeah.
person. I'm going to make the call myself.
And that's-
That's exactly what I
David,
think went in his
And
head.
it's a very good example of why people in the private sector probably shouldn't be running for
And-
president.
and- and-
No, it's a very
Whoa,
good
whoa.
example.
Whoa, Ethan.
what? That's wrong.
Yeah,
so you
Ethan.
want lifetime government? Well,
Yeah.
you would.
No, I
But
want
mean,
people who understand the laws of government, right? If you are coming from if your excuse is
Time, though.
wait a minute,
Yeah,
if your
time.
excuse is that he's a private sector guy and therefore it's okay
It's not
for
excuse.
No, it's not okay.
to commit unethical,
It's not
illegal
okay.
behavior, I'm going to say to you, then probably private sector people shouldn't be running. Now, of course, that's not true. But what is
How about
true
Jim
is that
Longley?
if you are a private sector person, you have to learn how to work within government. Because
Longley.
otherwise, you're going to break the law. He's got 91 indictments. 91.
No way.
Well, a couple of them are going to take
Ethan, one of the things platforms he ran on, and my niece mentions it all the time.
What, drain the swamp?
Well, yeah, and we have enough politicians in there. Let's get a businessman. Longley, think about it.
James
Georgia,
Bond, look at
No, it's appealing, but-
historically, who holds most of your executive positions?
Yeah.
They don't move. They didn't used to move up from senator
Yeah,
to president,
right, yeah.
right? How many? It just didn't
They come
happen
to-
that way. Do you think in your party today that John F. Kennedy would ever get the nomination?
What?
I gotta ask you
Probably
that.
not, no.
No. Do you
no,
think
and,
you would?
and how about George Mitchell?
I mean, he
George Mitchell. George
Mitchell.
Mitchell, in my humble, would have been one of the greatest governors ever in the history of the state of Maine. And a guy who was an insurance guy, nice man, wonderful man.
Think about it,
Says,
Jim
think
Long.
about it, which was just like Bill Green coming on for Susan Collins. Think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they all know that slogan, that one slogan, beat one of the finest politicians that's ever lived in the United States or the world. And so, yeah. And then he got in there, and guess what happened? He wasn't, God bless him, he wasn't all that
Very
great.
effective.
No.
And so I agree with you that he has the right to run. And Ethan, I agree with you that once you become the politician, you go, I got to run this like politics. I better do like government.
You just have to look. It's not even. You just have to not break the law, and that's what clearly Donald Trump has done, right?
Well, presumably. You keep
No, but
saying
wait a minute. Okay,
presumably, because there's no convictions, not a single one.
He's been indicted,
He's
David.
been indicted by
grand juries.
Does not. An
Right.
indictment does not.
I agree.
I'm with you.
I agree.
So
Correct.
quit saying that he did.
Okay.
He's accused of doing. All right.
For the first time in American history, the only person to ever be indicted after leaving office of the presidency is this
Donald
man.
Trump.
Yeah.
And this man who refused I'm not even going to blame it on him being private sector, because I think that's baloney what you were just describing. I think that the issue is his ethics, He does not want to consider, his job, from his perspective, was to keep power by any means necessary.
Right.
And that's what he was trying to achieve.
Folks,
That's why he's been indicted.
Because we're running out of time.
How much time do we have?
10 minutes, exactly.
Okay.
I want
See,
to.
time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and by the way, gentlemen,
This has been great.
This has been one of the most fun shows I've ever done. With George Mitchell, we didn't get into any heated discussions. Bill Cohen, we asked the questions, he answered them.
Bill was very
In this one here, we are all just energized in a nice way. And I want to say this to the camera and to you folks.
You mean like Donald J. Trump is doing it to our country?
Yeah.
A certain portion of it, anyway.
This is what I want to say. I went to dinner last week at DeMillo's with a very dear friend of mine, like a sister. Very wonderful woman. She knows who she is. She's watching right now. And I started the conversation by telling what I told you guys. I said, let me tell you what I'm going to say on TV. And in the middle, she goes, Derry, please stop. Please, let's talk about something else. I go, why? She says, you're disturbing me. I said, well, I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about what I'm going to say. She says, it's still disturbing me. And I got up and went to the restroom because I thought, I've upset her. And when I came back, I said, I won't discuss this with you again. And you know what it taught me? That I will not be able to have this conversation with any of my anti-Trump friends. If I just say I like his ties, they get pissed off. If I say, well, guess what? To a pro-Trump person, you know, I don't like his ties. What do you mean you don't like his ties? The love of Trump by Trumpers and the hate of Trump by anti-Trump is so deep that I cannot even tell some of my friends.
Exactly.
By the way, Rob, I'm not going to write to all my friends and say, please watch my show. They go, Derry, I didn't like it. You know that I'm a friend of yours, Ethan. And you know that everything I've said today is as a TV journalist because guess what? I just said, I announced that if you ever ran for governor, I don't care who's running against you, I'm going to be there because I think you're a wonderful man.
And what's the common denominator of what you just described, right? You just described
You
how
tell me.
you can't talk to anti-Trumpers because they'll freak out if you say something good about Trump, and you can't talk to pro-Trumpers if you say something bad. And the common denominator is Trump. And it's really important that our country understand that from my perspective.
Ethan,
the
that is well said.
common denominator is Trump.
Exactly.
And he
Why?
has built this wedge and this divide. Now, he's tapped into something that people want to hear. I'm sure of it. He's tapped into something that other people don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But he is somebody who has divided our country in a way that we've never seen, right? There are
agree.
people who don't like Biden and people who do like Biden. There were people who don't like Obama, do like Obama. There are people who don't like George Bush, do like George Bush. But it was never like it is right now.
Right, that's true.
Because he's feeding that divide. And that's
and it's
what we
being
have to-
fed also by the social media,
Okay.
by the silo TV, Fox and Newsmax,
Sure.
which we didn't have. We asked Bill Cohen the question,
Yes.
if Watergate had happened today in this environment, would Richard Nixon have been forced to resign? And he said no.
Wow, yeah.
Right.
Remember that? Fox News and everybody would have done everything they could to prop him up and made an issue.
yeah.
So, one question I'd like. I know we only have a few more minutes.
We got some minutes. Go ahead.
Who do you think is going to win the election? And,
Yeah.
and also, if Trump does win,
Yeah.
which the polls indicate that he's leading,
Yeah.
what do you think that means for this country? And I know I'd like to get your opinion and also yours, David.
Yeah.
I do think Biden's going to win. I think in the end, we haven't really talked about economic issues, but
Right.
you know, unemployment's down, inflation is dropping, stock market's through the roof. You know, I'm sure your stock portfolio is doing great. Real estate's through the roof. There are a lot of things that people aren't feeling that I think over time they'll start to feel, and that will get us closer to when we get to the election. And I think that the troubles that are around Trump are going to get more magnified once we get there. So I do think that if Biden, that when we get there, that Biden will win. But I will tell you this.
Go ahead.
If Trump wins, I'll accept the results. And that's scary.
You will?
I don't want those. Of course I will,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Just like I accepted them in 2016 when he won, right?
You're not going to even go to Canada or something?
I won't
Paris.
go to Canada. I won't. I'll keep fighting until the day I'm done. I'll accept the results.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're not seeing from the other side. I'm terrified of Trump, right?
Yeah.
I think he does want to be a dictator, and I think he will try to use the
Okay.
office to do that, and I'll fight him on it.
Okay.
But I will accept the results.
David, I don't need to ask you what you feel is going to happen if Trump gets elected, because I know what you're going to say. You've already said it to him.
Well, you think
What you're going to say is he'll unify. He'll stop this division.
We have to have a decisive win.
Right.
All right. And all the polls that
But
I'm seeing
he'll
today
unify.
show that. And then
He'll stop this.
This
stuff.
will stop the nonsense.
Okay.
He wins, and the nonsense will stop.
Okay, David,
It'll stop.
thank you. Because
is it?
David, I don't know if I agree with you or not on that one, but I hope so.
I don't agree.
What I want to do is, I only have 2 minutes here, and I got to get this one out because I told you I'm going to make one more prediction.
Go ahead, buddy.
And
I
this
got
is-
one story I got to tell before we're done, though, okay? But answer this question.
it now.
Even if we know, because I'm going to be very
He's
short.
got 2 minutes.
I've got to get this out, folks. I got to get it out.
Get it out,
out.
Derry.
I think there's one person that can change this election one way or the other, and her name is Taylor Swift. I think that Taylor Swift can change this election. If he comes out against Trump and for Biden, I say it's over. Do either of you two agree?
Sure. Yeah, she'd be great. I think he'll win anyway, but
I think Trump will win either way. Honestly.
Even if Taylor Swift comes out and says no.
I mean, she has a following, but let's look at historical voting records on who votes. What's the majority of her supporters? What's the age bracket? Do they actually
8 years
vote?
old.
Do they actually vote? Right?
No, but their dad does.
Right. And
Their father does.
I know the kids have influence over their parents,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's enough to stop them from voting for Trump.
Okay, your story.
Yeah.
all right. So back in 2019, the New England Patriots are playing the Philadelphia Eagles
Oh, yeah,
in the
this
Super
is
Bowl.
good.
I call up the mayor of Portland, Pennsylvania, and we lay down a bet. We have a bet. If the Patriots win, I win. If the Eagles win, he wins. And over the course of the phone call, I get suckered into saying, look, I'll shave my head. I'm so confident that the Patriots are going to win that. I'm not even a Patriots fan, I want to be clear, but I was doing it for the hometown. Patriots lose, of course.
Yeah.
Brutal. So then I say, all right, I've got to go through with this.
Yeah.
Well, here's a nice story about this man right here. This man called me up after that and he said, Ethan, let's turn this into an opportunity to raise some money for kids who have cancer.
Unbelievable.
And you know what? He went out and raised $5,000 or $6,000, and we went and we sat at the Presumpscot School, and he took the first razor to my head. That was the happiest moment of his life.
And we got a picture of
Shaved
that.
it. We got a picture of it. I sent it to you.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the kind of thing that I think is really important in this country, that even when we disagree as much as we disagree, nobody disagrees about kids with cancer, and nobody disagrees about trying to make sure that we do something right.
Amen. Ethan,
and he's
great
right.
way,
Oh my God.
Right?
great way to end it. That was
Ethan,
Yep.
oh my God. I said this is going to be one of our best shows. And for you to close with that comment, I've almost got tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
And because I got to tell you something. You have been arguing back and forth, and I didn't know that story, and all of a sudden, debating. But let me tell you this as I close. I just want to say that when the Patriots lost that game, I was at Ken Elshuler's house, one of my best friends in life.
Yeah, great guy.
And everybody was upset except one person. It was me. And that's because Bobby Rydell, my dear, dear friend, Valari, Grease, Bobby Rydell, who I'd become very close with just before that game, loves the Eagles. And so when I wasn't upset,
He's a South Jersey guy, isn't he?
when I wasn't upset, they were, how dare you? I said, because Bobby Rydell, one of my greatest friends, is happier than he's ever been. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. This show is going to air, hopefully, before the verdict. Ethan, I love that story. David, fantastic job today.
Yeah,
'cause
thank
got
you
to talk.
guys very
and
much.
Rob, who's better than you are?
You're the best.
See,
Ladies and gentlemen.
there is a chance for unity.
Good guys. Well done. Well done.